Hello, and welcome to SomerKnits episode 18. I am a knitter based in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My name is Summer, and this is a podcast primarily about knitting, what I'm working on, what I hope to work on, acquisitions, plans for the future, thoughts on patterns, thoughts on yarns, etc. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you're new here, thank you for joining me, and I hope that you have something to work on and something to drink and just sit back and chat with me for a while, hang out. So let's see. Actually, I don't have any finished objects this time, but I am going to talk about what I'm wearing real quick. I believe I've worn it before on the podcast, but it would have been last spring if I did. This is the Magpie Tendency by Skananigans, and it is a super quick, super simple spring top. I was going to wear my stripes pullover by Andrea Mowry today because I wanted to talk about the kickoff of the DRK March to May knit along, but it's 80 degrees here and it's just too hot to try and suffer through an entire podcast in a wool sweater. And there's alpaca in it and there's mohair and it's a lot. So I went with the Magpie Tendency instead because I plan to make more of these. I love this top. It is a cropped fit. Let's see if I can show it. It's a cropped fit summer top that's done at a really loose open gauge, and it's easy to just pull on over a dress, over a tank, over a little t-shirt like I have it today. And depending on your size, I think I'm already eating fiber from carrying it out here. Depending on your size, you can bust out the whole top in a sock set. And that also depends on the length you want to give it. I went longer than the pattern calls for. The pattern is actually very cropped, but I wanted to use the whole skein of yarn. So this was a sock set from Southern Skeins, and it was called like Easter eggs or something. And there are two options in this pattern. One of them is a color block option where you do the whole top in one color and it changes right here. Or maybe it changes right above the bust line. I forget. I have not done that version. And then it goes down in another color. And that's one way to stretch your yardage, is if you had two skeins that were very precious to you and you wanted to either make a larger size or a longer top, or just remnants of two skeins. But this was a sock set, so a 100-gram large skein and a 20-gram mini. And I did the saddle shoulder contrast option of the pattern. And that starts with the neckline and the saddle shoulders, and stitches are picked up to work the front and the back and then continue in the round. So I went until I didn't think I could get another repeat of the pattern, and then I did the edging and bind off in that contrast color as well so that it matched the sleeves, the shoulders, and the neckline. And I found that a 20-gram mini was plenty for that, and the 100-gram skein gave me the length I wanted in the top. And I love how easy and breezy the fit is so much that I have a couple more sock sets that almost feel too precious to be socks that I really want to be much more visible. I just adored this set and I didn't think it should be hidden on my feet. It would have made gorgeous socks, but I wanted it in a garment, something that was more prominent when I wore it. So I plan to put this pattern in my spring-summer warm weather Make 9 for this year, which I have talked about previously. I'm currently working on my cold weather Make 9, and yes, I know I said it was 80 degrees here today, but it is March, and in Oklahoma, it can get cold again. Sometimes it's cold all the way through May. Our weather just fluctuates a lot. So next week it's going to be cold again, apparently. This week it's hot. So definitely going on my list again. Absolutely 100% recommend the pattern. I found it very easy to follow. I love a lot of her designs, but this was the first one I made. So that is the Magpie Tendency by Skananigans. I have silenced my watch, so hopefully it won't ding at us anymore. I just finally set it up this week after it's sitting around forever, and I have not gotten used to all the functions and it dinging at me. I'm so used to my phone being on silent. Anyway, back to the knitting. So the thing I've been working on the most, you'll probably remember from me talking about it previously, but it is the Rainy Day Pullover, and it's so close to being done. So close. The sleeves take a little while because they are a balloon sleeve, so they do grow as you go. But I'm on the second sleeve. It's a little tight here. I'm going to make a mess by the end of the podcast. But the pullover itself, the body is done. One sleeve is done. The other sleeve, I'm at 4 of the 9 increases. And then you go down in needle size, decrease rapidly, and then do the cuff. And this cuff fits perfectly. I tried it on and I'm absolutely in love with the fit of the sleeves. I'm in love with the fit of the garment. I can't wait to block that lace and really open it up. I just think it's gorgeous. I love the color. It is so soft and cloud-like. So I'm really thrilled with this project. I do wish that the pattern offered a better size range. And I'm hopeful that in the future it will, but I didn't realize when I first put it on my list and purchased the pattern that the size range was quite so limited. Usually I make a medium in everything. But in this pattern, I did end up having to go down to the small, and the fit is perfect. And my weight fluctuates a lot. So currently, my full bust measurement is measuring like 38.5. And for a long time, it was measuring like 36.5. And then before that, I mean, closer to like 35. So usually I've always gravitated towards using the recommended ease for about a 35 to 36 inch bust. I'm finally back on my exercise routine and everything, so things could shift again, but this fits me currently as I am. And I think it'll still fit brilliantly if my body changes. It's just so soft and forgiving and beautiful. And like I said, I love the fit of the balloon sleeves. The cuff is tight enough that the sleeve doesn't fall down over my hand, which would frustrate me a lot. But the sleeve has such beautiful, light, fluffy volume that it just kind of floats gently around your arm. And I love that about it. So this is the Rainy Day Pullover, and I'll put the designer's name there at the bottom. And it's gone so quickly. I would be done with it if I had taken it with me. I was gone for a week. I went to West Yellowstone and got to go snowmobiling inside the park and everything, and it was lovely. But that means a week where I didn't work on this at all because I didn't take it with me because it is kind of a large item to pack, and so I only packed socks. And I remember talking about my sock goals, and I didn't achieve any of them. I will show you where I got to, but I can't say I actually got where I wanted to or finished any of the pairs of socks. So that's my first work in progress, hopefully very soon to be a finished object so that there is still time to wear it while it's cool. Hopefully we'll have a little more sweater weather before it just totally heats up. And a nice spring transition would be lovely, although sometimes we go from very cold to very hot here. So next up in my works in progress is a long time whip, which I actually did put some time in on my trip and after I got back because I was finally in the groove. Those of you who've been here since the beginning will remember the clearly determined socks. So I finished this sock a while ago, and this was the first sock. And so the second sock was just the cuff when I left on my trip. So I finally put some time into this sock, finish the leg, turn the heel, and I believe that I have finished the decreases now for the gusset, and I'm just following the pattern on the foot. So this has been a bit of a slow sock for me because I have to look at the pattern for every row because, of course, I haven't memorized it. And maybe that's just not working on them consistently enough. I know this yarn is too busy for it to read well, but there is a cable that runs down. It's a braid up here, and then it splits, and it becomes just a twist that runs down to the foot, and then it will run all the way along to the toe. And it's on both sides, and it's reversed on each side so that it's symmetrical, or however, whatever. Anyway, so that cable pattern keeps me looking at the pattern every time. But I think it makes for a really beautiful finished sock. And I've really enjoyed the yarn. I probably should have done a vanilla sock with as speckled as this yarn is, but it's beautiful nonetheless. And it's been so long since I started these that I am going to have to dig out the yarn label. So it's Living Dreams yarn, and the color is Galilea, and it says it's a hand-dyed 8-ply fingering yarn, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. 100 grams is 387 yards, so it's slightly thicker than some sock yarns. And it does say machine wash cold and dry flat, but I hand wash my socks sometimes, and other times I put them in delicates bags and throw them in the washing machine, so it just depends on the day. But I am thrilled to be making progress on those because wouldn't it be lovely to have them finished before the podcast turns a year old, because that's kind of a ridiculously long work in progress. So I did work on my husband's socks that I talked about. Let me grab them. It's going to be lots of leaning and bending because I threw everything on the floor over there before I started. So I worked on the DRK Everyday Socks. And my goal for these DRK Everyday Socks for my husband was to finally have a sock that really fit him well. And I followed the pattern for his size, but I mean, I didn't gauge swatch. It's a sock. And so like the foot fits nicely, the toe is loose. So I am going to go through and pick up all the stitches at the start of the ribbing. And then I am going to remove the toe and re-knit the toe as if it was a cuff down sock so that I can make it smaller. And then I'll finish the sock, and I'll make the next one. What I can't decide is, so the stitches run the same direction. Should I start the next one just at the ribbing in the round as if it was a cuff down sock, but go ahead and work it toe up and go back and add the toe? Or should I just go down a size for the toe? I am open to your thoughts on that one. This yarn has been lovely to work with. I mean, the toe is just a regia, but the body of the sock itself, we'll just call it the body of the sock, is a merino tinsel sock yarn that is 85% USA merino and 15% eucalyptus tinsel. And it is by Forest Lane Fiber Company. And so there's no nylon in the sock. There is the eucalyptus tinsel, but there's no nylon. And it just feels very squishy and sumptuous in the hands. So I very much enjoyed working with the yarn. I do find rib socks really slow. I'm not a fast sock knitter. I don't know why. I can like bust out row after row after row on a sweater, but like socks, I'll knit a few rounds and then like get distracted and knit a few rounds again. I have a hard time keeping myself focused on socks, and I'm not sure what it is. So rib socks take even longer because ribbing takes a bit longer than just stockinette in the round. Um, I do like the fit of the DRK Everyday socks. I do think they look really silly while you're knitting them, because you just have this like silly tube. But now that I have turned the heel and everything, it's going to be like that much more leg. So getting a second one done is not going to be quick. I do eventually want to have them done for him. I did make him close his eyes when I tried them on his foot so that he would not see what they looked like. But, I mean, that does mean he knows that there's some socks somewhere. But maybe by the time I actually finish them, he will have completely forgotten that they existed. So, those are my DRK Everyday Socks. I did not finish them in time for the DRK Everyday Socks knit along, and I had meant to get my spinning wheel out and actually spin some of, I have a braid that is merino nylon for socks, but I never did end up getting it out. It's just been too busy a month and it just hasn't happened. So then I have one more pair of socks with some progress. Not a lot of progress, but more than the last time I showed them. So in my little birdhouse bag from Southern Skeins, little sock bag, I have the vanilla socks that I started last September. I started them the day that my family and I went to the Walnut Valley Music Festival for the day, which is a folk music and bluegrass festival in Winfield, Kansas. And we like to go every year. And so because of COVID, we did not stay in camp this year. We just went down for one day because the whole festival's outside. So we went and stayed, just like we got up early in the morning, made the drive. It's like 2.5 hours or so. And then stayed till the kids like basically were falling asleep and put them back in the car and drove home. So I started this sock that day, but I didn't knit through the whole day's worth of concerts. I just knit off and on as we were sitting around. And then at some point later, I had turned the heel and then I had stopped. I don't know why. Distracted by other things, sweaters and things, I guess. I'm loving the yarn. It is from, in 2020, I got the Crystal Skies hand-dyed Harry Potter monthly yarn club. So every month was a skein inspired by one of the books. And this one was called Honeydukes. And I think that this is leftover yarn from my, yeah, it is. This skein is dyed by the Violet Valentine, and it is leftover yarn from when I did my Casa Grande sweater, which I actually don't think I've worn for the podcast yet. Maybe next time. It is a fingering weight, lightweight sweater with lace sleeves. It's very cool. But I had lots of leftovers, so I used that for the cuff and the heel, and probably will use it for the toe as well because there's tons of it. And then this Honeydukes colorway from Crystal Skies hand dyed, and you can find her on Etsy for the main body of the sock. And I do think it's fun. It's a vanilla sock, and I'm actually following the I'm So Basic pattern by Summer Lee, and I'm trying to find like that vanilla sock recipe that really fits my foot, because I wear a U.S. women's 6 to 6.5, which is considered a fairly small size, and a lot of sock patterns, even in the small, end up a little too big for me. So I am working to find my perfect length. I find that I don't wear my tall socks outside of the house very much, so I went for a mid-length sock here, and then I'm also going to try next time and do some like shorties, but I wanted to do a mid-length first and see how I felt about that. So, and then also this was working on getting used to 9-inch circulars. And I do like them once I get going, but I always have a hard time starting. They feel awkward in my hands at first. So a lot of, if there's an actual pattern to the sock, I have a lot of those on Magic Loop. But for just this vanilla sock, I wanted to see if I could adjust to the 9-inch circulars. And these are 2.25 millimeter. I'm such a loose knitter. I don't really want to go down to size zeros, but I feel like to get the gauge a lot of knitters get on socks, that I might need to. So at some point I may give that a try. But for now, these are my So Basic socks, and progress is progress, right? I've started keeping this particular project in my backpack since it doesn't require any attention at this point. Now that I have finished the gusset decreases and I'm just going round and round and round on the foot, it doesn't require any thought process or any attention, and it doesn't take up much space. So I have been keeping it in my backpack or purse and giving it a few rounds at a time, sometimes in car line as I'm waiting to pick my kids up from school, other times just whenever I have a few seconds, waiting at the grocery store for grocery pickup and things. So in doing that, I hope to slowly make progress and actually finish this set. I think that is it for works in progress. And I need a quick drink because my mouth is getting so dry. So I said I'm back on my getting up in the morning and actually working out. After being sick the month of January and then off and on with things in the month of February, I finally now feel like I am consistently getting out of bed and actually moving my body somehow in the mornings. This week I have done the stationary bike and I have taken walks, and I have actually this morning gotten up and gone lap swimming. So I feel good. The goal is mainly to feel good, and that's the thing. So I feel good getting up and moving, but it also means that like my water consumption is like needs to catch up with my activity because my mouth dries out so quickly if I don't keep up with drinking enough water. I'm actually today though trying tea that was from my birthday, and it's just the Yorkshire tea, tea and biscuits, and it's very good. I also got a couple of decaf teas, which will definitely be wonderful for afternoons and evenings, that were loose leaf blends from Adagio Teas. I got the Minty Comfort and blueberry pancakes, and so I'm very excited to try those. The Minty Comfort is supposed to be all things that decrease inflammation, which is awesome. And then the blueberry pancakes is supposed to taste like blueberry pancakes, and who wouldn't want that? So I know I talked about casting on for my birthday on March 1st for the DRK March to May Knit Along, and I didn't do it yet. The reason being, I didn't want to lose momentum on my rainy day sweater, but also we were out to dinner and dessert with my parents late enough on my birthday that I didn't have the brain space for casting on a new project. I wanted to just go round and round on something that I already knew where I was and just keep plugging away. So I have worked on my rainy day sweater the last few nights because I really feel like a few more nights and I can bust out that sleeve and just get that one off the needles and wearable, and then start in on what is sure to take me a bit longer, because I think we have all seen that things that are not just round and round take me a bit longer. And my plan is to cast on the Shifty. And I know a lot of people on my Instagram post voted for the Pink Fizz, which is gorgeous and definitely still in my Make 9 for the year. But I have Surrey alpaca and fingering weight to do that sweater with. And when I finish the rainy day pullover, will have just made 2 Surrey alpaca sweaters. So the no frills sweater was the British wool cone by Woolly Knit and a Surrey alpaca from Pancake and Lulu. And then this rainy day pullover is a merino silk fingering and Surrey alpaca by Pancake and Lulu. And that's a lot of Surrey. I love Surrey, and the weight of the no frill sweater is definitely different from the weight of the rainy day pullover because the yarns that the alpaca is being held with are very different. But I just wasn't ready to commit to a 3rd Surrey alpaca sweater in a row. Even though I love the color, it's gorgeous. I'm just not quite ready to cast that one on. So it's there, and hopefully happens sometime this year, but I don't know if I'll get that one in during the knit along. I do want to go ahead and cast on the Shifty. If I get stalled out on that one though, my plan is to cake up and cast on for stripes because it is at a larger gauge and I have all of that beautiful merino hemp, which I think will be a lovely transition fiber content. So the hemp merino sport, which is hand dyed by Fiber for the People, is lightweight and bouncy, and I'm hoping like a little bit breathable. I actually find I really like plant fibers. I know some knitters don't, and I think it'll make a good transition weight for the spring. So if I get hung up on the Shifty or it's just not progressing as quickly as I want, I may go ahead and cast on that striped sweater. Also, stripes is a pretty mindless knit, and if you haven't made that sweater, it's a lovely round yoke pattern, and you can make the stripes any width you want, or you can follow her striping suggested pattern. But it's basically a stockinette sweater with a round yoke. So it's almost, it's almost as mindless, maybe even more mindless than the no frills because you don't have the raglan increases. It's round yoke increases. I like the way a round yoke sits on my body. I know some people feel very strongly about raglan versus round yoke. When the increases are done well, I feel like a round yoke sits very well on me, so I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and probably do that as my next mindless knit while I work on other things that are a bit more challenging. And in swatching for the Shifty, I didn't find it super challenging. It's more that it's going to take a little more paying attention to what row I'm on, and it's going to be a little less portable because of the number of yarns being used at a time. But let me show, if I can find what I did with it, my yarns for the Shifty. And I know I've talked about them before, but since I haven't cast on, everything's just in cakes right now. This is my main color. So the whole background is this kettle dyed creamy gray. And I know that that sounds like a really odd description, but I don't know if you can see all that variation in there. It's almost like you can see the cream peeking through the gray. And the name of that yarn is Gusto, and it is 100% superwash merino. It says it's a DK weight. It does not feel like a DK weight. And also it is 330 yards per 100 grams. It's like a super light DK. I would really call it a sport, personally. And then the first color is going to be Castle, which this is all spin cycle dyed in the wool for the contrast colors. So this is Castle. And then, and I've probably gotten all the little color tags mixed up. One of these is the saddest place. One is going to be Absolute Zero and the other is going to be Bruised Ego. So here is, you can see that the light turquoise from Castle will transition here. And then from there, that purple will transition I don't think I can hold these all up at once and not drop anything. We'll see. And you're seeing the terrible side. My ball winder, I think, is dying. So some of these balls are really pitiful looking. So then the purples will transition into that last one. So it'll get darker as it goes towards the bottom. But there is commonality in the colors. There's a little bit of purple and a little bit of blue in all of them. So I am excited to cast that on. I was trying to decide what size needle to cast on the neckline. I had to go down a needle size for the body, which brings me from a 4, which is what the pattern calls for, to a 3 US knitting needle sizes. So the neckline in the pattern is a 2. And so I was trying to decide if I needed to go to a 1.5 or a 1. So it's a difference of going from 2 is 2.75 millimeters to either 2.5 millimeters or 2.25 millimeters. And I wasn't sure which jump made sense. As far as just the millimeters, it would be the same amount to go from a 4 to a 2 as a 3 to a 1.5. And my ribbing tends to be loose, so I may just do a 1 because I have it on hand and it's easy. I do plan to get some 1.5s though, because it'd be handy to have in my stash. I thought I had some, but I was unable to locate them when I was looking for needles in order to get started. So that is my Shifty plans. And then the other thing that I am planning on, I feel like my light has gotten darker as I've sat here. Not sure. Hopefully it's not too dark for you. But the other thing that I have going on is the wonderful, marvelous Mrs. Maker. Her name is Britt, actually. She is a designer who has done some fabulous, she's done a dress, she's done skirts, she's done tops, she's done lots of wardrobe staples that are designed to perfectly fit the individual knitter's body. And she has designed a top called Midnight Blues, and it is like an open work or lace at the top, and then like a stockinette body, I think, with a ribbed, like a wide ribbed waistband. And she's using knitting with spreadsheets, which is a method of taking, I think I had to take 9 individual measurements and input them all into the spreadsheet. And then the spreadsheet spits out a pattern for you that is tailored exactly to your body. And I think that that's just awesome. Also, I've been hoarding this pretty yarn since May of 2020 because it was the club color for the Violet Valentine. It sounded like I said violent. I said violet. The Violet Valentine. The May Yarn Club color was peony because it was the year of flowers. And it's this creamy pink speckle. I adore it. And I don't have enough yardage to do the whole top, but I was thinking about color blocking it and doing the body, the top and the body in this gorgeous pink speckle, and then doing the waistband in the cream, just the cream without speckle, to complement it. So I've already contacted the wonderful Marianne of the Violet Valentine and told her I really need cream to complement her gorgeous yarn so that I can make this lovely pattern, and she is awesomely going to help me out. So coming soon, I am hoping to swatch this weekend and get started, and during spring break I really hope to bust out a lot of it, but Britt is giving us until sometime in April. We have like 6 weeks to work through the pattern. So I'm really excited to test for Britt. Again, this is it only the second time I've tested for her or third time? I don't remember. I've tested it for Britt before, and she wrote the pattern for what has now become my mother's absolute favorite hat, and it's called the Borealis Beanie. And I have made it 3 times. I made it for my daughter as part of the test knit because she needed somebody to do the children's size. And then I made it for my brother's wife. And then I made it again for my mom because she just couldn't get over how much she loved the one I made for my brother's wife. And so it's mosaic knitting, and you go through so many colors. You change colors frequently. And it's just beautiful transitions. And you can use scrap yarn. You could change colors more often, less often. So I followed the pattern exactly the first time that I made it for my daughter, and I changed colors every time the pattern said to. But then when I made it for my brother's wife and then again for my mom, I used one color throughout the whole thing, and then for every other change, used a different color. So like there's one that goes consistently, and then there's changes throughout. Anyway, sometime hopefully I can show you what I mean. But it's a brilliant beanie that the way it's done and twisted on itself and everything gives you that opening in the back for a ponytail or a bun. Or because of how it's twisted, if you don't have a ponytail or a bun, the hat basically closes itself up. So you don't always have a hole, which is awesome because like I don't have enough hair for a ponytail or a bun. But it's a gorgeous design. And I definitely recommend you check it out. It is the Borealis Beanie by the Marvelous Mrs. Maker. And you can find her on Instagram. Her patterns are on Ravelry. And she's just a wonderful person to follow. So if you're not already following her, go ahead and give her a follow. My old man dog would like to join us for the rest of the podcast. Hi, baby. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dog claws and knitting don't go together well. All right, lay down, baby. Hopefully that wasn't super awkward or anything. He gets a little lonely, though, when I'm not sitting with him. And he likes to be in the middle of everything. So, this is Riley again, for those of you who might be new or don't remember his cute little face. But he's going to join us. So, the other thing that I have been thinking a lot about, and I had started to gather the yarn for, but now might set aside again for a little while and collect more scraps, is the sea glass sweater. And I know so many people are loving and working on that sweater, but I have like all these leftovers from my first striped sweater. And I have some DK mini skeins and leftovers from my bralette last summer, leftovers from my daughter's fingerless gloves, and leftovers from my sweater in January, the tulip gansey, and leftovers from my son's sweater, and then like some exchange yarns. This one I'd have to hold double because it's a fingering single. And then I thought I might hold some Surrey double for a bit of it. And then I have this whole skein of gorgeousness. So you can see I've started to collect my bits and bobs for, my screen went dark, sorry, for doing the sweater. And I was, looking at yarn one night like you should not do. And Fiber for the People has started posting her lucky strikes and overflows every Saturday consistently rather than being long gaps between shop updates. And she had one called Bobble that is a non-superwash merino, baby alpaca, and silk. So it's just the most luxurious feeling yarn ever. And I decided to get it and carry it through the majority of the sweater. I was trying to decide how to do it because there's only 2 skeins, which means there's it's a single ply DK. There's 246 yards per skein. So, you know, there's not even 500 yards here. So I don't know that it could be used on every other row, but it could be collar, cuffs, bottom ribbing, and maybe every 3rd row to break it up even more. I don't know, thoughts? Anyway, it's gorgeous, and it's like, it's this pink, but you can see tiny bits of purple and tiny bits of almost a peachy color running through it. And so it's not a solid just one color. Like, there are spots in it that have definite variation, but overall it's this light pink, and I think it will go well with everything that I have collected in my bag. So I was waiting to put these in until I showed them. And this is just kind of the bag of sea glass sweater, just everything together. So I have more acquisitions than I intended. I have accidentally bought some yarn. Some of it not so accidentally, but I had not planned on buying quite as much yarn because of wanting to knit the sweater quantities that I already have. So part of this was because we went to West Yellowstone, and I'm not often up that far north to purchase a lot of the fibers that are made locally there. And I know I could order them online, but there's something special about getting yarn on vacation. So if you are not into acquisitions, thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you next time. But if you are totally into ogling the pretty yarns, like I am, then stick around and let me show you what I got. So we stopped in Stix, which is a yarn store in Montana, in I've lost the name. It was the city we flew in and out of. Anyway, so Stix yarn store. We stopped there, and 2 things. I think my mother has ESP for when I'm recording because she always calls. And I always feel the need to answer just in case something's wrong. But second thing is that my ring light battery is just pretty pitiful, and it has died. So hopefully the light is not terrible. I've moved the computer a little bit closer, but back to what I was talking about. So we stopped at Stix yarn store, and we only had 15 minutes to look around because my sister was at a restaurant waiting on a table, and we ran down the street to look really quick. And we were pretty sure that they were going to be closed by the time we were done eating because it was just an odd time of day to be eating, but we'd been flying all morning and whatever. So Bozeman, Montana, that's the name of the city. Anyway, so the first thing I picked up is this Daylight's American Cormo. So it is, it's a natural wool that's just been dusted with a color. There was a whole series of these, and this one is called Lint, and it is dusted with purple. And I'm gonna try and see if the camera will show you. It's not showing you the depth of this color. I'm gonna see if I can get any more life out of this ring light after having it off for a while. So it's a beautiful natural cream with just this barely there dusting of purple. And I wanted to only buy local yarns that weren't readily available to me where I live. So this is grown in Montana, spun in New Hampshire. It's by Harrisville Designs, and I got 3 skeins because there was a sample knit up of the Midori pullover, which has been on my list forever. Look how pretty this is. I don't know if you're seeing the purple or not, but it's gorgeous. Anyway, the Midori pullover has been on my list for a while, and the sample was knit up in this beautiful, bouncy, squishy, non-superwash American wool. It is 250 yards per 100 grams, DK weight, and the shop owner said that the first 2 or 3 sizes only needed 3 skeins, and I'm pretty sure, based on the recommended ease and bust circumference, I will either make size 1 or 2, because I don't like things too oversized. But it's gorgeous, and I'm excited about it, and it's so sheepy smelling. But I'm definitely planning to make the Midori pullover with this. So I did buy with intention. What I did not buy with intention, no plan, is there was this really gorgeous mid-tone purple, like a really warm purple. The color name is Bitterroot, and it is Rambouillet Targhee wool, it's made by Ranching Tradition Fiber. It's called Tobacco Root Valley. It is Montana raised and processed, and it's 3 ounces, is 325 yards. So it's marketed as a fingering weight, but in my experience, it's thicker than a fingering weight. I think it's going to knit up more like a sport. Anyway, I got 3 skeins of this gorgeous purpley color, which gives me 975 yards of this. And I got this pretty blue. It's showing up really dark on screen. I don't know if I'm going to be able to accurately show you. It's still showing dark. Anyway, it's this really pretty blue, and it's called Madison. And I thought either I could find a simple mosaic or color work sweater, or I could color block the yoke of a sweater or stripe it, Anyway, so this would give me 1,300. Yes. 1,300 yards of sport weight. It really feels like sport weight. 3 ounces, 325 yards. I don't know. Anyway, the shop owner did say it knit up like a really heavy fingering, so I'm pretty sure I could get a sport gauge out of this. Anyway, it's gorgeous, and I love it, and I'm very excited for it, but I did not have an exact pattern in mind for this yarn. But I was, once again, trying to shop local there, do double duty of putting money into the local yarn store, but also into the local makers, and have myself a really lovely souvenir from my trip. I was pretty sure that it was going to be the only real souvenir that I bought. I mean, I got the kids some things and little stuff, but for the most part, this is my travel souvenir. This one's not mine. This is one that my mother bought that I still haven't remembered to give to her because we had it all shipped back together. So this is by Western Sky Knits, and it is hand-dyed in Montana, and the colorway is stained glass, and it is a bulky weight, and it is like a bulky single. It's called Biggie. It is superwash merino and nylon, and it is so squishy, like just the squishiest. Super lovely. So I need to take that to my mom because it is hers. And then one last purchase from that store. I wanted a sock yarn, and I couldn't resist this self-striping sock yarn. The colorway is Peter Cottontail, and it is so pretty. I've wanted a self-striping sock yarn in a while because I wonder if that will help me with my sock making mojo. If it will, watching the stripes develop will help me keep going. But it is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It is 420 yards at 95 grams, so it is quite a bit thinner. It's going to be like a light fingering. It is hand-dyed in Billings, Montana, and the shop is Two Sisters Yarn Company. So I was very excited about that one. It's just gorgeous. You can tell it goes with my current color scheme. And I'm just very excited for spring in these colors. So then also, this is my mother's fault because she wanted more yarn for hats. So I went with her to a sale at my local yarn store before we left town. And this Super Kid Silk Mohair was on clearance, and it is the Lana Grossa Super Kid Silk or Silk Hair, 70% mohair, 30% silk. And there was this, it's showing really dark on camera. Where is my light? I'm trying to see if I can get the light from above. It's still going to show really dark, but it is actually a very turquoisey. It's showing very blue on the screen, but it is a very turquoise silk mohair. But I was thinking it might be interesting paired with the Corvette blue British wool cone that I have. And I'm probably not going to get anything knit with a cone for the cone along. I had just done 2 woolly knit sweaters before the cone along happened. But I knew I wanted a mohair. The British wool is a little stiff for me without something to soften it. And I think if I was to knit it by itself, that it would soften over time with use and everything. But I love a good mohair. And it was on clearance, so I ended up with, I think 5 total of this turquoise, which would be really cool paired with the Corvette blue, or I could hang on to it and do something with it on its own because it is a lovely shade. And then for the kids, I got a few different clearance skeins of Regia sock yarn because it does tend to hold up well. I can get quite a few kid pairs out of one ball. It's, this one is self-striping. You can kind of see the pattern that it's supposed to stripe up with on the sides. So I got this one with my daughter in mind. And this one with my son in mind. And this one is actually an Andes sock, which is fine merino, alpaca, and nylon, so it's super soft. And there were actually 2 more balls of the clearance sock yarn, but I think that they are still packed away somewhere. But when we checked out, because they were having like a Super Bowl sale or something, and a grand opening, they'd move locations, celebration and whatnot. There was a gift with purchase, which is this Fair Cotton Craft 100% organic cotton by Katya. Says it is organic certified, and it was just so pretty. So you got to select your color, but you got this free large skein of yarn. It is 200 grams, 678 yards. I have not decided what to do with it. I would love some ideas. I'd love to get a garment for summer out of it. It says a recommended needle size of US 2 to 5. Anyway, it's very soft and silky. It's not scratchy cotton. It's not hard on the hands. Like, I think it'll be very easy to work with. So I'm open to ideas. I have now buried my dog in yarn. He is underneath this pile, and I can't believe he hasn't thrown it all off yet. Also, with the free yarn, there was a free pattern, but it's a shawl. Painted desert shawl. Anyway, it's a shawl pattern, and that was... the free pattern is lovely, but I think that I'd love to get some kind of summer tank or something out of this instead, because it's definitely my colors. Yes. And and I'm really excited about that. So that was a really nice free gift with purchase from that sale. Hopefully I don't crinkle too much as I throw some of this back in, because my last acquisition to talk about is my monthly subscription from Southern Skeins Yarn. Sorry. So this time I got the bag with it, and I got it because I knew it was going to be frog themed. And my oldest, when I was pregnant with her, I did her whole nursery in frogs. We waited to find out if she was a boy or girl until she was born. So so the whole thing was gender neutral, but it was, and I think all decorations are gender neutral, but that's another thing. Anyway, the whole nursery was frogs, and I thought these yoga frogs were really cute, so I was excited about that. The bag says things like find balance, chill out, breathe deeply, slow down, which I thought was a really nice message. And then look at this bright yarn. So this is the sock set this month. It's called Downward Facing Frog. And then the mini skein is called Sunrise. And won't that make a brilliantly bright pair of socks? I was thinking that I might do like matching shorty socks for me and my daughter or something with it. It's just really fun. All these shades of green and this bright orange. It's just like screams spring to me. It's like grass and blooming flowers and everything. Anyway. Gorgeous. And so this was the February sock box, and it came with an adorable little frog progress keeper that I'm going to try and get out of the bag. My fingers are not currently working. So there is the froggy. Isn't he the cutest thing? And then this time the tea bag was chamomile, and the goodie was some Eucalyptus, and then I adore Werther's Originals, which was the candy this time. So there's 3 Werther's Originals, the eucalyptus scent of the Eucalyptus wool wash, chamomile tea, and the Froggy Progress Keeper. So I was excited to get this one. And her Progress Keepers are not really heavy. I know because they're clay, they look like they could be, but this Froggy is super lightweight, so he's not going to pull on my stitches. There are some gorgeous Progress Keepers out there that just end up heavy, like really heavy. And I don't like a super heavy Progress Keeper or heavy stitch marker or something that I feel like adds too much weight to my knitting. So I don't end up using those heavy ones or big ones very often. But little Mr. Froggy is very light and very cute. And so this sock sack is the same size as that Birdhouse's one that I have my pair of vanilla socks in. So I know that it fits easily in a purse or backpack and holds your sock project easily. So that is finally it for my insane acquisitions, which I had not planned on. I especially hadn't planned on that mohair and all that extra sock yarn and stuff, since I have tons of sock yarn that I haven't gotten to, and I feel like I don't finish socks as much as I want to. Of course, I bought all that sock yarn before my trip, kind of hoping that I would bust through more pairs of socks than I did, but I didn't end up with as much downtime. And then those husband socks, knitting for men's feet or larger feet just feels like it takes forever. So, but maybe I'll get more sock mojo in the spring when I'm not on such a sweater kick. Although I don't know. I have been working on my Make 9 for spring and going through my queue and my yarn room and just thinking through what I really want, what I'm going to wear. I've added this test knit that I'm doing for Brit to my Make 9 for spring garments because it is absolutely stunning and I think perfectly my style. So I am excited about that. Excited to use some stash yarn for that too. just having a good time knitting over here. So I'd love to hear what you're working on, what your plans are, if you're starting to think spring or you're still super into sweaters, or what your main project is these days. My other question for you, because I was having a discussion with a project bag maker, I actually really like project bags that zip. I like them because I have a tendency to throw my project bags inside my backpack and take them with me. And I just like things that close completely. It's not that I dislike drawstrings a whole lot. I just, especially for larger size bags, I especially like the whole thing to zip up. And I know that no needles or stitch markers or anything else is going to slide out or anything. And I'm not saying I don't use drawstring project bags. Obviously, I do. And I have the snap bag for the socks that are actually really nice for putting in my backpack because they're compact and everything. But I just find that, like, especially for things like the Clearly Determined socks have a cable needle and stuff with them. So I like a zip bag that just makes sure there's no little gap and nothing's going to fall out. And I had asked if they were going to carry any more zip bags in their spring fabrics because I was starting to see some really pretty stuff come out. And they said that zip bags tend to sit longer and not sell as well. And it seems like a lot of fiber people are afraid of zippers, like catching their yarn and stuff. So I am curious, are you a drawstring project bag person or a zippered project bag person, or is snaps your thing? I want to know because just after talking to her, I'm super curious if I'm alone in the liking things to seal completely, being paranoid that stuff's going to work its way out of the top of a drawstring bag if it's not like tied perfectly tight or whatever. So I don't know. I would love to hear your opinion because I was curious after our conversation about other people's preferences, and I don't know. I'm nosy. I just want to know. So feel free to leave that in the comments. And then, so I had all those prizes last time, and I've not made it to the post office because I'm a terrible person, but they are all packaged up and ready to go, and hopefully I can get those shipped out today or tomorrow. But I'm also going to do a drawing this time because my birthday was March 1st, and as a happy birthday to myself, I am going to give away you remember I say you remember, but if you watched the last episode, you might recall that there were 2 sets of yarn for the person who won the stash sharing to pick from. And I am going to send the other to someone who comments on this video. And it doesn't matter what the comment is. You tell me what you're working on. You can tell me your opinion on project bags. Or I'd love links to your favorite project bag makers because I am having one made by the maker I was talking to. And I am going to be very excited to share it when it gets here. I have one of her other bags. It's Farmhouse Sewing Cafe, I think. I'll put it down here because I'm really bad with names. Anyway, I love looking at her stuff, and I have a winter bag that says things like let it snow and stuff like that. It's got all different winter snow themed, but it's patchwork like a quilt on it, and it does zip, and I love it for medium size to large size projects. I don't love putting projects in oversized bags more than I have to. Like even a sweater, I will stuff into a medium bag and just carefully zip it closed because I like it to be compact enough to fit in my backpack, even if it's something like a sweater, because I like to be able to take my stuff with me. The exception to that is if there's lots of different yarns going on. So like the Shifty is probably going to stay in its own big bag, maybe even stay at home. We'll see. But feel free to throw out your favorite styles, your favorite makers. I'm just interested. It's not that I need 100 more project bags. It's just that I'm super curious. Um, anyway, so somebody's gonna get a Yarny surprise, and I'll leave it open until the next time I film. And who knows, there could be another surprise in the package with the Yarny goodness. It'll be a surprise though. Mm-hmm. So, as a happy birthday to myself, I'm giving a gift to you. And I think that that's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me. Sorry for the light. I hate that my ring light dies so quickly. And maybe I'll have to start filming in chunks so that I can charge it in between, or I don't know how I could keep it plugged in because it doesn't have, maybe I could find a way to keep it plugged into my computer. I'd need an adapter though. Anyway, I'll figure that out. My house is just not necessarily conducive to having great light all the time. The light comes from above because the giant window is up way high. But anyway, thank you for joining me. I feel like I've talked really fast this whole time, so hopefully it hasn't been unintelligible. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to start babbling now. I don't really have any life catch up other than Yellowstone in the wintertime was fabulous, and I loved seeing the park empty, and I will throw some photos in at the end because it was just amazing, and we saw so many bison and bald eagles and pronghorns and just all kinds of amazing things. And at the Wildlife Rescue Center, we also got to see wolves and like a tiny little owl and bears. We did see a bear in Yellowstone, but like in its den, so it was really like seeing a bear butt. But anyway, it was wonderful to get to see all the wildlife and to feel like the park was empty and peaceful and not overcrowded. So it was just a wonderful way to see Yellowstone. And I enjoyed the snowmobiling and the bus tour and everything. So it was just a really good time. Anyway, that's really it for life updates. Obviously, my hair's a different color. We ended up not dyeing it a new color. This is what happens when you put bleach on the hot pink that was there. So it's now like this peach color because I have started my triathlon training, so I am swimming, and I figured the chlorine was going to do all kinds of weird things to my hair. We also took it really short because that'll make it easier to take care of during all of this. And we'll see from there. Until next time, I hope that you are knitting fabulous things and enjoying your crafty time and just taking time to breathe. I know the world is in quite a bit of turmoil right now, and we still have to find that time to give ourselves a little bit of a deep breath and find some peace, whether it's a cup of tea, a knitting project, a half hour of yoga, or a bubble bath. Just finding some space to breathe for a few minutes can make the world of difference. So be kind to yourselves, and like Kat from Heather and Hop says, be good to each other. Just try and have a wonderful couple of weeks, until I see you again. Thanks.